introductions. Give us your name, where you're based, and if you want to say what you do, that's up to you. But yeah, I think that we can start there. So let me start with Mbali. You've been on the podcast before, so just give us an introduction of yourself. And yeah.
Okay. Hi guys. It feels good to be back. It's been a while. Yeah, my name is Mbali, and yeah, man, I'm a chill person. And hey, man, I really do struggle talking about who I am and everything because I never know where to start. I'm just like an infinite wonder, man. I'm from Carltonville, but right now I'm in Joburg, and I came back to the side for work. And if you just want to know more about me, I think we can do that after the show because I'm gonna talk for the entire time. So yeah, I'm cool. Yeah.
Okay, Pego, the floor is yours. Just give an introduction and yeah.
How's it, everyone? It's my first time. 2 years. I'm so happy. I'm Pego. So I'm originally from KZN in Durban, but I moved up to Johannesburg for work. I'm a very serious guy. I'm not casual, and so funny to expect. I don't know if you guys think would it be laid back. I hope my serious comments don't deter anyone. But yeah, it should be interesting.
All right, cool. Next, Sia, you were first people to join. Just introduce yourself.
Hey guys, my name is Sia Lenyengule, also originally from the Eastern Cape. Just like Bali, I think I've got a lot to say about where I am, so I'll also save that for later. Also, I think this is my second time. The first time I came in late. This is my second time where I'm actually on time, so can't wait for the discussions, guys.
Okay, cool. Next, Letu, just switch on your mic and introduce yourself.
Hi guys, my name is Letugutula, but people call me Letu because it's easier to pronounce. I am from KZN, but I'm currently based in Cape Town. And yeah,
cool.
Nice meeting all of y'all.
Okay, great, Letu. Let's go to, I guess you wanna, I call you Elizabeth, but I guess you can introduce yourself by whichever name you wanna use. The floor is yours.
Okay. Hi guys, my name is Kilebohile, but Peter knows me as Elizabeth because that's what is it called, the work name, the first name, I'm from Krugersdorp, but now I'm based in Johannesburg because of work and studies. I work with Peter. I'm a legal administrator, and I'm currently studying corporate governance to become a company secretary. So I must say I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be just having this huge... Okay, Peter sent me a list of things we're going to talk about, so it looks like it's going to be interesting. So I must say thank you, Peter, for inviting me. I'm looking forward to having a chat with you guys.
All right, cool. Let's go next. I used to call her Buntu, so now I call her by her actual name, Mobile. Just switch on your mic and introduce yourself.
So random. Hi everyone. Buntu is my first name, but everyone calls me Ngobile, or they call me Q to make things quick and simple. I am originally from Johannesburg, East Rand. I'm currently staying in Cape Town for work and studies, and it's nice to meet everyone today.
Okay, cool. And then I think Dikateng and Litula, although Dikateng's camera is still off, so maybe we should switch it on along the way. Litula, the floor is yours. Just switch on your mic and introduce yourself, and then we can go to Dikateng.
Thanks, Pete. Hi, guys. Litula. I'm originally from Paris, in the Free State, currently staying in Randburg. I'm a product specialist for one of the financial institutions here in SA. I saw the list of things that we're going to be discussing today. Not sure about my age, but yeah, let's get on to it. Thanks, guys. Nice meeting you.
Okay, great. Thanks, Lutula. Dikateng, the floor is yours, and then we can start the conversation.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Dikateng, not Dikateng. I'm not white.
My bad.
No problem. I'm originally from the Val, but I currently now stay in Cape Town, also for work. So interesting topic. So excited to hear everybody's views on it.
Okay, great. So I think at least everyone has the gist of who's in the panel, who's in the discussion. So at least you don't expect to see your former boss or something, and then you have to kind of reserve yourself from what you say. So again, please feel free to speak your mind. Just some house rules. Typically, I would advise people, if you're not speaking, just switch off your mic. Although please feel free to interchange or raise a question. I'm sure everyone is aware of how Zoom works. But yeah, just switch off your mic unless you're speaking. But if you want to raise a point or interrupt something, just feel free to do so, or raise your hand in the Zoom options there, and then we can at least allow you to overtake or participate further on. But yeah, I think just to get the ball rolling, because time moves very fast. So I think all of you seen the topics. Today we're going to be at least speaking on the element of relationships and also a little bit touch on the etiquette of it, but also speaking more so into the childhood aspects of how we are raised and the impacts of us also raising possibly our own children in the future. But I think maybe we can start off with the more soft side of the love aspect and, relationships. As, you can go on social media almost every week, there's something going on. If it's not a DJ and his wife fighting online, or if it's not some musician or politician going to the commission of inquiry and fighting, or whatever the case is, there's always something going on in South Africa that relates to relationships. So maybe I can get a perspective of young Black people working in different spaces, and what's your interpretation of all these kind of things, but also dissect also to the deeper stuff in terms of polygamy, which is also a concerning issue that some people don't want to talk about as well, especially now women also cannot be allowed to as well. But we'll get into that a bit later. But I think just to open, being an icebreaker person, we speak about love, and I think as I'm going to be doing the podcast, I'm just going to be pointing to anyone. And again, please feel free to raise your hand, whatever the case is. So I think where we can start off with, and this is a question someone asked me, and I had this, I think, the previous discussion about relationships, about their interpretation of relationships. And someone asked me if men and women love differently, and I didn't know how to answer that. But it's a very, you have to think about it sometimes. But I think I try to be very neutral on some ends, but I also want to see how you guys interpret that question. And this is just be an icebreaker. This is not actually the core of the topic, but I actually am curious to understand exactly if men and women love differently. So maybe I can start with Letula. So I'll start backwards a bit from how we introduce ourselves. I don't know how you interpret the question, but do you think men and women love differently? What is your take on that? Just switch on your mic.
Sure, Pete. Pete, look, I do agree. With that. Look, the question and the answer to that, to me, it's a yes. I think basically, I would say, as a man, I would say I've been through quite a lot with a few maybe relationships here and there, and I would say what one gives out sometimes, I think, as a gender, and how and what is actually expected from you from a relationship, and naturally as a man and also naturally as a woman, I believe we do love differently, and I think the feelings is not always so mutual or maybe the same because of what you bring as a human being or maybe as an individual in a relationship into a relationship, right? Because I think it also means it is not always about the love. However, it's also about what also comes with the love, which makes it different. So I think that's my take on that one.
Okay, thanks, Letula. Dika saying, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it wrong, but yeah.
I don't think you ever will.
Yeah, please forgive me for butchering your name.
No problem.
What is your interpretation of this question as a woman?
My first thought was to say people in general love differently, not necessarily based on gender. So like how you probably love is probably different to, I don't know, Sipho somewhere, not just because he's a man that you should now love the same, but just because we are individuals, we love differently. But I guess there are aspects of being female or being male, or in this lifetime being non-binary, that affects basically how we love and how we show the kind of love that we have. So that would be my answer to that.
Okay. I think let me add one more voice to this, and then at least we can move the conversation. Bego, what is your interpretation of this question as a man?
Yeah, I actually agree with the previous speaker before I butcher her name as well. So we men, women, we love differently as people as well, but there are certain aspects where it's, if I could call it, the same, in the sense of reciprocity. You can receive love and you can also give it too. And if I look at the best example I could give in that is when we look at children, because I feel like if you really want to get a good gist of how love is, because it naturally comes to them very quickly. A girl child is very, how can I put it, authentic as well, in the sense of, from my experience, like in Sunday school and when I was facilitating there, I learned from a child in terms of it's okay to really express yourself. And they would say it into by words. So they'll be like, you know, I really did say something like, I missed you. You see, something like that is authentic and words spoken, that this comes from the heart. This is how I'm feeling right now. And as opposed to a male child, because they want to gain you, if I'll call it gain approval, or they just want to, you know, get a nod, they'll do anything for you. And that is a sign of love. They'll just go, if you ask them, please go try to do this for me, they'll do it in an instant. That is actually love. So I do see that we love differently. At the exact same time, there are things that are going to be the same, where it's expected from both parties. So that's my take on it.
Now, I hear you. I think this then leads to the second question. And now I've been asked a couple of questions, but I think all of you can help it get to the point of the topics. So relating to the obviously that say men and women love differently, the question then led to, can men and women then have non-romantic relationships? In other words, can men and women be friends? And I think that's a very simplified way of interpreting it. I don't know what everyone's take is. I'll probably have very limited view on this. But Letu, what is your interpretation, or what is your view on that? Can men and women be friends, especially in context, close friends?
I think they can, Yazi. I've got very close male friends. But what I've seen happen is that they figure this phase where at some point you develop feelings for each other. And depending on how mature both of you guys are, I guess, that phase passes and you guys sometimes can still be friends, or enjoy the friendship ends. But I think it's very much possible. And sometimes, like, once that phase is over, you can just be proper, genuine friends. Feelings gone, you know, just as friends, and care for each other as friends. So it is possible for men and women to be friends. Just and I don't know. I mean, in my experience, I've gone through the feelings phase with like most of my male friends, and we're still friends to this day. The feelings are gone, and everything's fine on my end, you know.
And it become awkward at some point.
During that phase, it does become awkward, but I mean, you have to be very honest and upfront about what you want. So in one of the incidents, I told the guy, but you know, at that point, so he had feelings for me, but I didn't. So I was able to say, yo, I'm not there, and I'm going to be frank with you. And if you want to still stay in my life as my friend, that's fine. If you feel like we can't be friends anymore, it's also fine. Yeah, it depends on the maturity and the friendship, and like how important the friendship is to you.
Yeah, okay. Sia, what is your take on this as a guy? Is it possible? Because obviously Letu has given her perspective. What is your perspective?
Yeah, look, I think you will have to always apply yourself when it comes to male-female relationships. More so in my sense, because I'm married, so I cannot just be casual with every female that I come across. So I think for me as a male, I always have to carry that sensitive heart to say every time I interact with females, hey, this is who I am, say as married. Yeah, we might get along, you know, we might vibe, but we cannot vibe to that degree. So I have to always put boundaries in my interactions, more so with females. But with you guys, I can always go wild. So yeah, can males and females be in sober relationships? I think yeah, as long as we put boundaries. But I think in our generation, no one wants to put boundaries. So that's where we then end up mixing things.
Okay,
so yeah, that's my take.
Let me ask you this then. You're married, right? And let's say one day your wife, you're having an event or a bride, and she says, "This is my friend," and it turns out to be a guy, and they're very close relationship with the guy. Does that impact your relationship, or is that something that should be worth concerned about, or is that it's a no-brainer? It's cool. It's just another friend. In your view, what is your take on it?
We've kind of set general boundaries in terms of how we build friendships. So yeah, if one issue my wife rocks up and was like, "Yo, dude, this is my male friend," I'll be like, "Oh, I thought we had an arrangement concerning male friend." So I think we'll always evaluate relationships because not every relationship is necessarily a bad relationship. Some of the relationships she formulates are business-based relationships, and you realize those. And in some of the industries that she's involved in, it's male-dominated. So I cannot say don't have male associates, for example. So, but I think we always carry that chin on our shoulders to say, just always be aware. And when we say always be aware, we don't mean be robotic when you're around the fair sex, but always just have that conscious mindset that, look, I do have a husband, I do have a wife, always put that out there, always just maintain sober relationships. So it's not as easy as I'm making it sound, but it is doable.
Okay. I'm not going to lie personally. It is a very complicated thing to answer. In certain instances, it becomes an issue. In certain instances, I think you end up having to accept it. But Litula, I see your hand, but let me go to Q. Let me not butcher people's names today. What is your take on this? I saw you nodding your head a lot. So what is your view on this?
I genuinely actually agree with what Letu was saying. I think it's a maturity thing, to be very honest. I always say it really depends how the relationship started. And most times people end up being friends purely because someone likes somebody else. I'm very close to guys who have had a crush on me, and I'm like very close to them now. They're just my friends. So I think it is possible. I think it's a communication thing. I think it is maturity. It's an understanding. It's like any other relationship. You kind of need to know, set your boundaries and know where you guys stand with each other. If you're not wanting or feeling that person as your boyfriend or whatever, it's okay to just be a friend. And really, someone else has a choice not to be your friend. So I totally agree with everything that everyone else said, but I strongly agree with what Letu was actually saying.
Okay. Litula, I see you raised your hand. I don't know if you want to rebuttal something or you want to add on.
Yeah, no, Pete, I think, look, the person who just spoke now is going to say the same. The feelings will be there, Pete. It is honest truth that when we are friends, there is that kind of feeling that is there. When you spend a lot of time with people, and then you are either up with the opposite gender, there's things that you share and there's things that you go through together, and you start developing a certain feeling, right? However, it depends on how important the friendship is and how did you guys set the boundaries. And I agree also on the point of communication, because then it will mean some people will start going over the boundaries, which will also then start entangling everything of which the friendship might also be in jeopardy. So I believe the aspect of communication and how important the actual friendship is, so that it doesn't end up being a romantic relationship and ruining everything. So yeah.
Okay. I guess there's a very common consensus that it depends, I guess, but communication is key. Although in my view, I would say that the risk of feeling still being there is something that's still, it still stays in the head. Like, this person maybe still has feelings, or, that one day where you end up being just the two of you together. But yeah, I'm not gonna place a level of bias in that. But yeah, okay. So I think I don't know if everyone wants to add on to this, but I think we can move to the other part now. So we've got the gist of love and, the relationship dynamics between friendships and, and now is to move to the concepts of now one being in a relationship. And one of the questions, the topics that I raised was infidelity. And there's obviously different types. Or the interpretation is there's different types of ways of way people cheat, and maybe that's where something I would like to understand. Because especially in the context of whether one is in a relationship, whether it's a serious relationship or at least marriage. So I'm not talking about someone who just for 2 months has been dating and then cheating occurs there, but in the context of a serious relationship, you guys have been dating or you're married for a while, and then someone cheats, man or woman. I would like to understand, there's the physical part of cheating, but in any other aspect, is that also considered cheating? For example, talking to someone else, for example, you're in a relationship and someone flirts, or let's say there's an office party, or there's an event there's a wedding and you meet up with an old friend or an ex, and you guys start talking to each other, and there's a bit flirtatious vibes, hugs. Is that also classified as cheating, or is cheating basically limited to, no, you had sex with someone else? And I'm trying to understand, how is our interpretation of that? Bali, what is your take on that?
Okay, with cheating, it gets like a bit tricky, right? Because when it comes to relationships now, I think we spend a lot of time just like jumping into relationships without actually talking about what we consider things to be. Like, for example, I'm often accused of being overly friendly. I don't see it because it's my nature, So if I'm talking to somebody and I'm like, hi, darling, or I talk to somebody, I call people sweetheart sometimes, things like that. And it's not to say that I'm really flirting. It's just something that it's a natural thing in me, So obviously, like if I come across a guy who I know is really just very personal about those kind of things and how I address things, then it's going to be different. But if he doesn't tell me, then I won't know that I'm cheating, because I know with one of my exes, he really did not like the fact that I could just easily be like, hi, darling, to a guy, So he would see it as something that is really bad, And then after we spoke about that, I'm just like, no, but I'm not cheating. It's really just within my nature. So it goes back to how you fundamentally base your relationship and the structure that you have, because we need to have these conversations before you even just step into a relationship. What do we consider cheating? Is it the sex part? Because with me, if you go and then you call another girl hi, hun, for example, I really don't find it's okay for me, because I'm that person. Like, I understand maybe you just being friendly or anything, but it boils down to intention. When you say hi, babe, to that person, what exactly does it mean? Are you just saying it like being friendly, or you are just hoping to get something out of it, and that's my chat? So I think with cheating, it's just a thing of intent. So what are you intentional about what you're doing, or what's going on? Of course, the sex part, damn, yeah, that's infidelity. It's a no-go for me. It's a deal breaker, like a no. But flirting and everything, I'm not really that big on, unless your intentions are really just to get into that girl's skirt.
Okay.
So yeah, that's my take.
Okay. Elizabeth or Gere, if you want to, what is your take? I mean, personally, I don't know, South African men and sweetheart, hey, I don't know, maybe that's something we need to talk about, but seeing another man being called sweetheart, I don't know. But I guess it makes sense in certain instances. Elizabeth, what is your take on this?
Like I said, I would agree with what Mbali said. Like, I think when getting into a relationship, we need to communicate, right? Like, communication has to be the key. Like, it has to be the key that rolls out this relationship. Like, I need to understand and I need to know that this is what you can tolerate in a relationship, and this is what I cannot tolerate in a relationship. And for me, infidelity, adultery, it's, for me, the point whereby people start having sex with each other outside of their relationship, that's a no-no. Like, just make your choice. It's either you're going that route or you're here. You need to decide. You can't be here and there at the same time. Like, where do you want to be? You need to choose. We can't be having people having multiple sexual like partners. Guys, we need to grow up. Like, and the thing is, we need to now factor in the fact that we have got so many diseases. Like, guys, when are we going to start taking responsibilities of our own health at the same time? So if you want to be here with me, make a decision. You want to be here, stay here. If you're tired of this, get out and move and go somewhere else. Don't be here and here at the same time and get there at the same time. Like, now it's like you're playing what is it called? A chess game. Like, sometimes you want to be here, sometimes you want to be. Just make a choice. for me, it's as simple as that. Just make a choice and stick with it. I mean, how difficult can that be?
Sounds so touched.
Like it's really annoying. I just don't understand it. Because with me, I've got friends that are married, right? I mean, I had this other guy who's married. I attend with him at Wits. We're doing the same course. And then he was complaining about a side chick. And I'm like, why are we talking about your side chick? Why are we not talking about your wife? How is your wife doing? I know she's pregnant. How is she doing? Can you just take us becoming so demanding? Like, that's what side chicks do. They are always demanding. Like, didn't you get that? Like, men don't get that. Like, side chicks, you become crazy now. Now they want to be the main chick. So now he's like, no, this girl is becoming so attached. No, I feel like, hey, now I don't know what to do. Now I need to give him advice. I'm like, but I was not there when you met with this chick. And then now you know my views when it comes to having side chicks while you're married or having a side chicks while you're in a committed relationship. I do not understand that, and I do not like that. Like, for me, it's a no. So when you come into me now, I'm going to tell you the truth. You were supposed to tell this girl, either we are fucking and that's it. Like, no attachment. Don't leave her your number with her. Just fuck and then leave her. So now what you did, you fucked and then you got attached and then you changed numbers and then you went to lunch and then you had this and this and this. And now it's getting all heated up. Now you want advice from people like us. Now you know what I feel about that. You know my views when it comes to that. It's a no. For me, it's a no. Because now it's gonna destroy your relationship with your wife. And for me, I'm now getting concerned because your wife is now pregnant. So if she were to find out, like, you are busy doing this on the other side, like, do you understand? Like, now you're gonna be causing unnecessarily, like, stress to your wife because of what you're doing behind her back.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
I told her, like, grow up. Just leave that side chick. Just grow up and then stay with your, like, grow up.
No, I hear you. I think it's. I always want to ask what degree of, or like, obviously I think the physical part we can all agree that that I think is very well, even though to some extent, depending on your relationship, I think even the physical part is subjective, I guess. But let me not go into that. But I think furthermore, in my view, I always try to understand exactly what qualifies as cheating, let's say in communication. Or is it just open to, like, okay, I'm just talking to someone and then you just base it on the trust. But let me not go into that because obviously that's not the core of the topic. Q, I know you raised your hand, so I don't know if you want to chip in on what was being said.
No, Bali did answer the question that I wanted to ask her. She was saying that it's her nature to, be over friendly and stuff. I wanted to ask her, so if her boyfriend had to do the same thing, how would she feel about it? I think we also need to understand that the reason why men will react to that situation is the same thing that she said. What is your intention? Yes, it may be your nature to do or talk to people a certain way, but are we just as comfortable when it's done to us, when we see our boyfriends doing that? Because I know I'm a very flirtatious person. I speak to people, I call people darling or whatever, but I think there's a point of discipline, if I say, when you're dating someone, that you kind of have to just kind of pull back from doing such things, because we're all human at the end of the day. And I don't think it's something that I feel like you should know as a person that your boyfriend would be uncomfortable with that, especially if in your previous relationships it's something that has been brought up. I think then you kind of have to know how to interact with people, especially when you're with your partner. I think there's some sort of respect in terms of how we communicate with other people when it comes to being with someone. But I mean, I guess if she has a communication happening between her and her boyfriend and they understand it, who am I to say that she shouldn't do it? But I'm just saying, on my part, I think even if you are a flirtatious person and you do call people babe and darling and sweethearts, I think it somehow needs to kind of come down when you're with your partner, just for respect's sake, just for avoiding, why did you do that? Why do you talk to people that way? I think it's just, for me personally, it's a bit of common sense, I think. But again, if you have a communication flowing thing with your man and you guys both agree and are happy with it, then, do you, basically that's what I wanted to ask.
Okay. Now,
Yeah.
the other question I had, but this was also one of the conversations I previously had, and can cheating ever be a mistake? Like, oops, kind of thing. Like, ish, I was not in the right mindset, or it just happened. What is our take on that? Beko, I don't know. What is your take on that as a guy?
No, it's no mistake there. From my view, I'm just speaking personally. I don't think so, because for me, I'm maybe speaking for myself as a person. Surely your partner is always up in your mind. Yeah, it's like a conscious thing. So now you can see that ish. Maybe I'm leading this girl on, so I'm like, yeah, would you like such? No. So you just let it go. So for me, when you say it was a mistake, I'm not saying it's not forgivable or whatever, but for me, cheating in the sense of physically being a mistake, no. Maybe oversharing, and then all of a sudden now I find a random guy saying, yeah. First of all, you only got one testicle. I'm like, wait, what? So somebody who shares oversharing that part, you becomes like, yo, what's happening? So for me, can it be a mistake? On my side, no, because I surely believe that your partner should always be in the back of your mind, or be a forethought, if in that matter. So
Okay. I see your view of this back of your mind analogy. So I don't know if it really means that that person is there in the feeling of that, you feel like the person is behind you kind of feeling. But
no, as in they're there in your conscious. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
It's a conscious thing.
Yeah, well, subconsciously, you can also feel like they're in the room, so you can't do anything. I don't know.
Okay. That's what I was trying to get at. Yeah, that's what I was getting at.
Okay. Now, I don't know if anyone else wants to add on to that, but I think in context of the infidelity, there was another question I think it's important to ask. Now, this is specifically relates to marriage or a serious relationship where two people live together. Bali, I see you raised your hand, so I'll go to you after this. There was a question around, the person used the whole example of, like, let's say you're black coffee and you cheated on your wife and you have kids together, about how does the separation occur? And let's say, for example, I'm not because I don't subscribe to the concept of cheating, but let's say I cheat, right? And my wife catches me, or whatever the case is. Now, there was a question firstly about, people sharing their relationships online. For example, let's say you start dating, or you get married, your information about your relationship is online. I'm in love with my babe. Should you also disclose to people when, excuse my language, shit hits the fan, or Peter fucked up, so I'm gonna update, guys. I was happy yesterday, but hey, Sia slept with Mang. What is our interpretation of the public airing of relationships online? Mbali, what is your take on that?
Like Peter, it becomes like really tricky. With social media, it's very tricky, né? We use social media for different reasons, right? And I also believe that you set the tone for how much you want the public to know, and for what reasons you put up your relationship for the public, like to the public. So some people I've seen that, yeah, they blog a lot, relationship blogging, and like these whole things of your hashtag Black Love Matters and things like that. And then it sometimes starts that way, because with bloggers it becomes really personal. I mean, like, even if it's a personal blog, and you can see it even if it's just like your personal blog about you, even if it's not a relationship thing, you find yourself sharing with the public because of how they familiarize themselves with you. So sometimes we familiarize ourselves with people's relationships, and then as they open up, and then we ask questions, and then they find themselves just I won't say oversharing, but it gets to a point where the familiarity becomes so insane that the public now expects you to declare those things, So sometimes it's a mix. I think that it comes to the issue of why I keep my stuff private, when it comes to relationships, because I know that I have that the tendency to grow in familiarity with people. So it is not, I wouldn't say it's good for you to disclose it when shit hits the fan. But now, because you've had that build up, and then you've created those relationships that you have with people online, now it kind of is, you kind of like owe it to us, because you've been sharing the entire time. I feel like you do kind of owe us, because you've been taking us through this entire journey. And you knew when you started this whole thing, you know very well that once you bring people into your space, they're going to start asking questions, even if you don't say anything. So I don't see anything wrong with disclosing when shit hits the fan, because now you've been real the entire time, and relationships fail the entire time. So stay real again. Give us the content we want to know. I feel you've built us, continue to build us, finish the whole building. You have to be done with it, So once you start, okay, now your things, put them on social media, you know that they're going to be repercussions. So you cannot be here playing all clean all of a sudden. Now the happy moments are gone. Now we are out in the cold. Nah, honey, finish the house, put the windows in, and put the heat inside, lock the door, then you'll be out. Maybe your next relationship, sure. Your next relationship, you'll be like, I've learned, okay? With black coffee, I felt it, So my next relationship, I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to do anything about it. And it's a learning curve for you. But you should just leave us there hanging. Nah, sweetheart, you brought it on yourself. So that's my take.
Okay. When I was having a conversation with this person, and the person raised that if you embarrass me publicly, like let's say you cheat and everyone else knows, let's say, or worse, for example, my wife cheats on me and I find out through other people, the person believes that I should also publicly embarrass you backwards. But I guess it's also based on the nature of the relationship. Letu, I see you raised your hand. I don't know if you want to add on to this.
Yeah, I just wanted to add on to what Mbali is saying. You don't start something you can't finish. So you owe us. I mean, you owe us that to just say, okay, because we're gonna ask at some point. Someone's gonna post what are those hashtags, couple of the year or whatever, and then tell what you guys are no longer together. How awkward is that? So yeah, just don't start something you can't finish, man, especially on social media.
Okay. Now, I think this moves to the second point. I mentioned polygamy, but I want to get to that. So there was this hypothetical, and it's an actual real life situation. So it's my brother's friend. So this is a situation that happened 2 months ago. So they've been married for 7 years, but they've been together in total for about 13 years. And this is the situation he presented. My brother spoke to me about his friend. So they've been married for 7 years, 18 years together. They have 2 kids. One is 7, the other one I think is 3 years old. And as of the past year or so, since the pandemic, the relationship has been good all these years, but the pandemic also kind of, made it a bit complicated. And they both are aware that's not exactly the same, because they're now working from home, blah, 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 blah. And this was a situation that happened that this year, the wife sat the husband down and told him, like, look, I love you. We've been together for years. We have kids together, and I want to make sure that you understand that I appreciate everything. You're a good father, but I no longer love you. And the context of that was not that I don't care about you, not that I don't want to be your wife, but I no longer have romantic feelings for you. Now, that's I'm trying to print out a picture to raise a question, right? So basically, it's a partner or your husband or your wife after years of being together, because the interpretation is that people do fall out of love. So whenever that happens, and the person tells you you have kids together, but I don't want to leave you. Should you decide to leave me, that's on you. But because you're a good father, I see you as a friend, or more so someone I can enjoy spend time with, but the romantic aspect is no longer there. The question then becomes, in instances like that, and this is a situation she put to him, if you decide that you want to get divorced, I'm okay with that, although I will not initiate it. Secondly, this was the other bigger question, which leads to the second question, which she raised. If you want to get a second wife, I'm also okay with that, because I know I'm no longer fitting these certain needs of you romantically, but you're still a good father, blah, 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 blah. So the question is then, because now they went for therapy, counseling, whatever, and it seems the guy still wants to be married but he doesn't want a divorce and he doesn't want to get a second wife. And it's in the situation. So my question is therefore, when a person then falls, because I assume, or maybe I could be wrong, they believe that people who can fall out of love. What should happen in the instance where you've been married to someone and you fall out of love, but you have kids? What should it kind of, in your interpretation, what kind of conversation or what kind of arrangement should occur, especially considering there's only one house? It's not like you can say, okay, I'll move out. Where? You only have one house. You're probably the only breadwinner. What do you do in that situation? Let me start with the person who's married. Sia, what is your take on this?
Yo, dude, yeah, no, that's a hard one. That's a hard one, yo. Yeah. Look, even though the wife sounded sincere there a bit, I still feel as if there's more to the story. Yeah, I mean, like, can people fall out of love? Look, I've been in previous relationships before, with which I thought I was in love, but I've soon to find out that I was actually enjoying myself, because most times I think us as people, because we evolve, we started off because we had something in common, and then after a few years, what made, whatever it is that we had in common falls away from me, and then maybe the person continues with it, then someone can deem that as falling out of love. But I think in their case, I think it's quite complex. I don't think there's a one size fits all type of solution to this case. But if it was me, I think I would say, why don't they try again, man? Try again. Why not? Look, dude, this question is too hard, even for me as a married person. But I would say, let them try again, man, because I think 13 years of choosing to love a person is not easy. More so when there's children involved. You now have to think, do I stay because of the kids, or do I stay because it financially suits our financial situation? So it's quite complex, man. But if I was in their shoes and I was their, call it, advisor of some sort, I'll tell them to try again, go on holiday, go get tattoos, go see a movie, go to Miami and flip and go sunbathe there, go to Jamaica, smoke some weed, and throw a party at your house, send the kids away, get a help, or maybe you've been overworking yourselves, actually sell this home and buy a new house. There's so many things that I'll try to bring in just to change the environment, just to change the atmosphere. Maybe if they're not going to church, change religions if you have to. But I think there's only something that you can always do if you have not, because from this situation that you've given, it sounds as if they still some form of, they still want to do something about the situation. So I'd say, really throw some random things at them and say, just try this and try that, go on bike, go hiking. They just need to do something different, maybe things that they hadn't done in the past 13 years of their marriage. Yeah, so that's my take.
Okay. Let me add more context, because it was a very deep scenario and it's a complex one. So I think it's important to note a part of the stop of, I don't know how to put this, the stop of love at year 18 was paraphrased by her saying that I no longer in a way find you physically attractive. It's part of it in some degree, I guess. And obviously, some people can say, you can override it. Some people can say, you know what, it's okay, I don't, maybe I don't sexually enjoy being with you in some aspect. But that raises the question of what should occur in that situation? Because if one person doesn't want to get divorced, what happens there? Etiquette, I haven't got back to you in a while, so I'm butchering your name again, but what is your take?
Yeah, I think it goes down to why we love. Sometimes you should love because you love, not because of certain reasons. And when you love people because of what they bring to the table, and when that something suddenly changes, then you say you're falling out of love. And I thank you for coming back to us and saying perhaps part of that was the physical aspect of maybe the guy has gotten fat or has gotten skinny, I don't know. But she probably loved him because of how he was in terms of physical, or in terms of what he brought, in terms of, I don't know, maybe he had a great job back in the day, or he was a party person, he liked going out. Now because he's a father, certain things have changed, so she doesn't find that attractive anymore. So it boils down to the reason why she fell in love. And like I said, you should go, when you say you are in love, you love not because of certain reasons, but you love just because you love. And I think it goes down to that. Yeah, but it's a tricky one, man. Like, I wouldn't necessarily say she must stay because of the reasons, like maybe having kids or on all of that. That will probably never make a good relationship, because now you're just stuck in it. You just feel like you have to live, and that's not the way to live. I guess also divorce can bring its own set of challenges, and sometimes it affects kids and the people involved emotionally. But then I think there's a greater issue that can be solved. And the fact that she doesn't want to leave maybe brings us an opportunity, like the previous guy was saying, to do something different. If the guy has to go gym, if that is the issue, then he should do that. If they need to go on a holiday and just be by themselves, or maybe even take a break from each other because now they've been in lockdown for, I don't know, a better part of a year, and they need to just get away from each other. Maybe that is a solution. So I think before going down into like divorce or suggesting something like that, maybe get into the crux of the issue should help in some sort of way.
Okay. I understand it's a very complicated question or scenario. Because I was even thinking to myself, let's say, for example, I one day get paralyzed. I'm married, but everything down there stops working. And, my wife has to take on certain roles. To some degree, should I also feel a level of understanding that the complexity of our relationship has changed? And as a result, certain things or things we could do together, or maybe even just could be even sex or, going out together changes completely. And that may affect the relationship. The other question that was raised, maybe because I see two people raise their hand, was should now a concept of marriage also evolve with the time that we're living in? There's polygamy, but there was something about having a marriage license. The same way, like when you have a driver's license, you have to go renew it. So like, okay, after every 2 years, I'll be like, guys, like, I just want to confirm I'm still in love with my husband. We can continue this thing for another 2 years. We'll come back and, we'll confirm if everything is still good. And you continue doing that. I don't know what's everyone's interpretation of that and marriage as it is. Let me start with Bego and then we'll go to Mbali.
Okay. Just quickly with what was said with the previous scenario. Whatever happened to ketile, guys, especially in the context of marriage, you chose, because now, yes, indeed, feelings come and go, even with our eyes. Yes, people's physiques change, and they become sick. But now all of a sudden you say, yeah, I don't feel this anymore. It's like, number two, then since there's children involved, what message are we sending to the children that, listen, if you fall out of love with somebody, just, sooner relax, But with the marriage license thing and for it being renewed, maybe it's from the values that I come from. Like I grew up in the church. So the institute of marriage, I viewed from a Christian background where between one man, one woman, and we choose to honor God in our marriage. So now, yes, and it is hard for us to now say, if it means we need to, fresh, spice things up, as Sia was saying earlier, that's what we need to do, because we both made a promise before God to say that in this sickness and in health, richer for poor, all of that, we said it. And we must be aware that you are your word. So now that's why you just don't give out words easily, but you should actually try and uphold them by all means possible. I'm not saying, obviously, if now you're getting abused and you're getting, spilled on with hot oil and now you're in trouble, you're like, no, but I made a promise before God. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying, there's some reasons whereby you need to fight for it. And there's going to be challenges. It's going to be challenged. But you honestly need to fight for it, because now that's why you need to, I believe, not take your time, but have a thoughtful process, and by all means pray and do what you need to do in order to try keep the marriage alive. For now, just to renew your license, like, yes, I'm actually tired of you, so I'm gonna go to somebody else. Can you know what you do to the other party? And you also, that's my stance and I'm sticking to it.
Okay. Mbali, what is your take? I mean, a marriage license, yeah, no. I mean, what about dating, Jay? I mean, dating, you can still like, you still love me, and okay. I don't know. What's your take on marriage and that aspect, even this whole scenario?
Like I'm just stuck on this whole thing, like, yeah, marriage, ne? Because I think people don't want to have deep chats like in the early times of a relationship, and that's when you should have them. Like, we marry for different reasons, you know, but I always fundamentally say that it's important to marry for values. Your values have to be in sync, because why everything just goes south is because when people just step into marriage, they realize later on that they did not marry for the same reasons, you know. And as people, we evolve daily. I personally don't find a problem with divorce, given that, you know, like, the reasons make sense. And we evolve daily, guys. Like, we are human beings, you know. But even when we evolve, if we were really married based on values that are in sync, then us evolving is not going to change the structure of the relationship. So we're just basically going to expand on what we have. But now if I'm evolving and you're evolving, and when we set time together to be together and our values were not in line and you never had these conversations, then my expansion is going to be completely different from your own. So now when I come back and I'm just like, okay, fine, now my values stand like this and then yours stand this way, then everything is really just going to fall apart. And in the chat, yeah, this whole thing about divorce, and I'm fine with people leaving, because also with kids, I came from, I won't say it's a broken home, but my mom and dad were just like really not on good terms, you know, and it really affected me as a child because I could see this. And what parents often try and do with this whole thing of staying together for the sake of the kids is wrong, because kids are very smart and we see things. And my mom right now is so much happier. And after my mom and dad divorced, I really just became a better person myself, because I was in a happy environment, you know, a more peaceful environment. And it really played a huge role in my becoming as a person. So I would not advise people to stay in relationships for the sake of the kids. If the kids see these things happening, like, it really affects everything: schoolwork, friendships, how they view life as well, and their relationships in the future. Because now you are really just employing a toxic environment into your own child. And this person carries it out until like into their late 20s, and when they get into relationships as well. Because I used to be very bad at relationships until this whole thing became peaceful between my mom and dad and everything. And I started with my therapy, and I actually just understood that, no, man, I'm not really supposed to be going for somebody who is like my dad. But in my head, the entire time, I really just thought that that was the right thing to do, even though I could see that my dad did not make my mom happy. So with marriage as well, it's very tricky. Of course, I'm a believer, you know, and you fight through marriage and everything, but I will not fight to stay in an environment that does not serve me personally, because I came into this world alone, okay? And like, that's really my chat. I'm not going to stay if my values are not the same. And that's why I'm really just like adamant on having deep chats about like the foundations of the relationship from the moment we actually begin. It's like a business class, like, okay, baby, what's up? What do you want from this? Where do you stand? And everything like that. I'm very intentional about that. And it really has been working for me. So I'm not really just gonna just jump in, and then when I'm deep in, I'm just like, oh damn, oh, we didn't discuss our values now. Oh, whoa, where are we going and everything? And if our values are in sync, a lot of things are even telepathic. How we construct this relationship, how we move within the relationship becomes very easier, because we know that, okay, if in my case, my value is loyalty, I will not do that because I know what, whatever. And if your value is loyalty as well, you won't do that. So some things, they become very easier when you understand that the values that are in place within the relationship are in sync. And the marriage license thing, I know, hey, we got married. If we married, why are we reviewing things? What's going on? Like, no, cancel me there. I don't like that. Because the marriage license is the ring on my finger. So it's done. So why are we reviewing licenses? I'm not for that. Nah, I'm not for the whole license. Yeah, and that's my take.
Okay. I think maybe the question was also maybe paraphrased to, you know, the whole thing, or to death do us part. And, you know, some people view it like, sure, it's death can happen 70, 90 years old, and, you know, you never know what can happen then. I see Lutula raised his hand. So let me go to you, but let me also add, because obviously one of the questions is polygamy. And there was a question about whether monogamy is something that still should be a normal practice, one person for one person. And, if in the sense that there's the depiction that we are Africans, it's within our culture, whatever the case is, there is no prescription about how relationships should be per se, one-to-one, whatever the case is. What is your take on the whole concept of polygamy? But I'll feel free to answer in whatever way, whether to the previous question or to this new question. Litula?
Pete, I think to the previous question, I would say, let me say, I believe in love, right? So I believe that we went into the union of being in a relationship or even gotten married because we loved each other. So obviously it has a hierarchy that there are other reasons why you also love. But I believe even though after 2 years, when you want to renew the license, maybe the reasons have changed of why you loved me. However, the actual feeling of love must supersede those reasons. So you need to start learning again new reasons, because at that point in time, maybe I was not working, but now I'm working, or maybe vice versa. At that time I was working, but I'm no longer getting an income. But because we had the feeling of love, that must always supersede the fact that things have changed between us. I've changed maybe in physical form, and maybe the reasons are no longer maybe enough for you to be staying in a relationship, but the love must still be there. So I don't think we should also even put ourselves in a situation where we are in a relationship for different reasons outside of love. So
Okay.
I think, yeah.
Okay. Now that's a good point. Elizabeth, you've heard everyone's take on this particular aspect, but to shift to also polygamy and the whole conversation around monogamy, about one-to-one relationships. What is your view on the concept of polygamy, especially as Africans in the modern day age? That should there be a limitation of love to one person, or I mean, even they don't call it polygamy. In some instances, in dating, they call it open relationships. What is your take on this practice or a viewpoint?
Okay, for me, it's, as human beings, like nothing is ever good. One thing is never good. Two things are never good. Three things, like we always want more. Like in everything, even if within yourself, you want to evolve as a human being all the time. You want to change jobs. You want to get more exposure. Anything that has to do with a human being, it's all about evolving on every aspect of our lives, right? And now it came a time whereby now we want to take it into relationships, right? So now being with one person, yeah, it's not good enough. I want something different. I know Kile brings me, she's this type of kind of girl. I can, go around with her, but I need something else. She doesn't have that thing, she's missing that thing. So now you you move from having only Kile to having Mbali as well. Then you meet Uq. Q has got something else that Kile and Mbali doesn't have. You also want to have that. That's what I'm saying. It's never, we never fool. Nothing is ever good enough. Like we always want more. Even like on every single aspect of our life, that's a human being things. A human being being a human being is all about that, right? But for me, it's a no. Like I feel like if this is the person you want to be with that person. Like push this relationship, because I mean, like we say, we've been talking about how everybody who gets into a relationship, they need to have conversation. They need to have deep conversation. We need to understand why we get into this relationship. What does it mean to the both of us? And how much are we willing to go as far as we can take it, right? But now for me, if now you're in a relationship with me and now you want to change your mind about this, tell me. Don't now decide on yourself, would see, but Mbali has got that thing and I want to taste it. Tell me so that I know you still want to taste Abu Mbali, Nabu Ban. So then I can make my own decision. Am I going to sit here with Peter, who still wants to, he's in the candy shop, he still wants to taste everything, You see? So tell me, then I can make my own decision. I'm gonna sit here while I'm watching Peter being a candy shop explorer. You know, be a candy shop explorer by yourself, then leave me out of it. You know, come on, guys. I think we're thinking so much about relationship to a point whereby now we just want to mess them up. Like we just want to mess relationship, but because like we don't value ourselves anymore. Like you just want to see yourself tapping into everything that moves. Guys, no. No.
The way you describe stuff, it's like it's very it's like you've actually been through it. Yeah, but thanks for that.
Okay.
Ovile, I see you raised your hand. Then I can go to the last topic quickly.
I totally agree with Kilohile in terms of we really complicate relationships at this point. We overthink it too much. I think being in a relationship is the most simplest thing. It's communication, understanding the person that you're trying to be with. It's showing something that you have, love, freaking bringing peace into someone else's life. You don't want to ever see yourself, fail. Why would you want the next person to fail? You never want to feel hurt. Why do you want the next person to feel hurt? It doesn't make sense to me. Back to the open relationship part of it, I'm actually at the point in my life where I'm okay with it, actually. My reasons is I've been in 2 really long-term relationships, and unfortunately, both of them have ended in cheating. And purely because of that, I've gotten to kind of understand in the years, obviously, when you grow up, you meet people. And honestly, you're right, Kiruka is right. Like people just get to the point where you still wanna be in a relationship, you like this specific person, but you're so tempted by these little factors around you. And it's human nature. We kind of get attracted to things when we get bored of what we have. Like children do the same thing. They don't play with one toy for a long time. But I think as we grow up, you kind of need to realize you need to just be with one person who you want to grow with and have real conversations with and, die with, I guess. And I just got to the point where I am okay with having a sister wife because I would rather know where my man is. It sounds weird, but I would rather know where he is. It's not guaranteed he's going to stay with the 2 of us, but I would rather know that, he's with Ukieli at home. Like he's there, he's at her house. I can call her and be like, girl, is he with you? Because he's not with me. For me, it makes a little bit of sense to kind of know where the person is. Unlike when I'm dating someone, like my previous relationships where he's not coming home, where the hell is he? He's not with me, then he's clearly with someone else. So I've kind of looked at it that way, that I would rather know where my man is and have, if I know that he's that person who can't sit still, then we have the conversation of, okay, then, let's bring in the third person to our relationship, because that is communication, that is commitment, because that is 3 people that have to learn to love each other and create a family. And for me, I'm comfortable with that because I purely don't want to be in this place where I have to always question where my man is. I think that's the most uncomfortable thing to ever feel as a person. We are failing to just commit to one person. I don't even understand why. Our grandparents have done it. Some of our parents have tried to do it. What are we failing to do in this generation? Is it because there are options and everyone is available to everyone because of social media? Like, I don't understand. Like, it shouldn't be that hard. But if it is that hard, then, as I said, I'm comfortable with bringing the next person because, look, people are going to always be people. Or humans are always going to just do the most random shit ever and decide on the most random stuff. And, sometimes, I honestly believe that sometimes people wake up and want to hurt you. And I feel like to avoid that, then you just kind of need to be like, okay, if this is how it is, for me personally, this is how I've seen it. If this is how my pattern of relationship is going to be, where a guy's going to cheat on me, then let's just bring another girl in and let's avoid the whole situation all at once. Let's just know where the hell you are, since you just can't keep your little penis in your little, package and you want to share it with everyone else. Rather share it with 2 people then we both know what's happening, then you just being out there, like it doesn't make sense to me, honestly. But yes, relationships are very simple. We just overthink it. We are complicating it for no absolute reason. And that's my take about everything.
Okay. It seems everyone is then in the same page of monogamy. I was hopeful. Obviously, you said, I was very surprised when you said, was it sister wife or something? I was like, yo, okay, that's a new term I've heard, but interesting. Because there was a school of thought about, is monogamy something that we should just continue practicing, or it doesn't matter if you have 10, 5, 3 people, even relative to gender, if a woman feels like she needs another man, maybe one man is financially strong, the other one is just good in bed, just, two in one package. I don't know, but it's subjective, I guess. But then the other question, because I wanted to move to the last topic, but the other question that I had to phrase about, in this relationship dynamics, and obviously some of you are married, dating, single, there's a whole concept of 50-50, and, I can't remember what's the opposite of 50. It's basically you have gender roles, and then you have something where people have structures of relationships, whether it's equity, partnerships, the husband gets the bread, now you stay at home. What is our interpretation and dynamics of that? Letu, what is your take on 50-50 or, gender roles? What is your take on that?
To be quite honest, I subscribe to the standardized gender roles only when it benefits me, and I'm being very honest. So obviously it's still nice to have the man of the house change the light bulb or whatever, but also a part of me, because of my background, I was raised by a single mom, so part of me is very much like feminist, very much doing things for herself, so there's certain parts of this 50-50 gender role thing that I can subscribe to, that I feel, okay, you know what, if I want my man to open the doors for me or whatever, he must do it because it benefits me. And then there's certain parts of me that still, I want to just do things. If I decide today we're painting the house blue, I also think, man, these gender roles can be very restrictive, in that, for instance, sometimes as women, we overlook details such as the fact that, a man is a human being as well. They've got feelings. They want to be cuddled. They want to be the smaller spoon and not the big spoon. So these gender roles are quite restrictive because men also feel like they can't really be expressive and be human beings, and I think, you just paint your picture however way you want it, like how I'm doing, and don't really fully subscribe to everything and everything. Just do what works for you at the end of the day. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Letu. Bego, what is your take on this? Then you can go to the last topic.
Your gender roles, I have to agree with Letu, who was speaking previously. So on my side, my background will come into play in terms of my answer, in the sense that I also was raised by single parents all my life. So now, being the only male at home, you see your older cousins and older brothers who are married, and you see how they act, and you try to do that at home. So obviously you'd be like, yes, no, I'm driving now. Yes, I'm gonna go clean the yard now. Okay, yes, the light bulb, this needs to be done. And then, funny enough, I don't expect like anything in return. But as you begin to grow, you begin to see that, no, listen, like, in as much as I, as the guy in the relationship, am willing to, for lack of a better phrase, lay down your life, because that's what you're trying to do, because you're trying to how can I say, keep the fire alive, and you're trying to maintain, you're trying to be protective, you're trying to, you know, bring the stability in. We also, as guys, we have needs. And then because of what society and what you've experienced as a male growing up, what males need to do, you kind of like neglect yourself and like, okay, hey, at least she sent me a WhatsApp message, happy birthday, you know. But when it's time for you, Valentine's Day, you do something. Her birthday, you do something. You have to do. But funny enough, do you know that when, I think TD Jakes was saying this, that men were also built in the image of God. And because God loves to live in praise, the more you praise him, the more he wants to show off. If you tell a guy that, I bet you can't pick this up, or maybe say that you can't pick this, you maybe say he's carrying 2 bags of groceries, and he's like, wow, you're so strong. Watch him pick up 3 or 4, 2 more, because now the praise comes in, the appreciation comes in. You make him feel special. You make him feel needed. You make him feel wanted. You know, those kinds of needs. So that's what will cause a guy to go over and above. So yes, gender roles do play, but it's hard, and I believe it's going to be a communication thing between you and the other party involved. But they will be different in each household or each relationship, but they have to be defined.
Okay. Now I hear you. I hear the Zulu man in you coming out as well. Respect. But I also want to raise the last question, and this is a subway to the last topic about children as well. But in context of relationships, I want to put a scenario. Assuming that one day you have a child, let's say a daughter, I'll use this daughter specifically, and this relates to the concept of loving and relationships. Your daughter turns 18, for example, and obviously we value things such as consent, a woman being free with a free agency and all those kind of things. There's always the discussion about age, that if, let's say, for example, you had a child and your daughter's 18 and she says, Mom or Dad, here's my boyfriend, and he's equally your age. Let's say he's 35 or he's 45 as well. Now, the question is therefore becomes, is there any dynamics whereby age becomes a problem, or is it virtue of a result of one becoming an adult? Your child, therefore, is given the free will to express and enjoy love or experience life for their own manner because they're now, quote unquote, an adult. Let me start with Sia, as someone who's obviously married, but I don't want to use that as an argument because I keep on saying that. Sia, what is your take on that?
No, dude. Yeah, no, thanks for mentioning the fact that I'm married. You guys are married. Let me mention it one more time. No, man. My daughter comes home with a 45-year-old. I am shooting that guy there and there. It's not happening. Sorry, buddy. 45 years, what have you been doing on earth? Couldn't you find a suitable partner back then? What's wrong with you? No, it's a no-go zone, buddy. I am cutting my daughter off immediately. I'm cutting any form of support I was giving her. There is no 45-year-old who's coming to my house with my daughter.
Okay,
I'm sorry, I'm just...
Let me put it like this. Okay, let's say, what age is too much?
Age, that's too much. It's my age, 10 years younger than me. But I think if my daughter's 18, I would definitely appreciate that, she plays within her age group, even though there's this notion that females or you guys evolve quicker than males. But I would definitely really like her to, stick within her age group, because I do know from an experience perspective, at least they're all in the same, thinking lane, as opposed to her bringing a 29-year-old. This bloody boy, his penis has been everywhere for the past, God knows what, 11 years. He's sticking it everywhere, So I really want my daughter to be subjugated by that mindset. I mean, as males, because as we grow, especially as a male myself, there's so many habits that we pick up along the line, you get taught by your uncles, your dad, or call it a group of men, how to approach women. So, there's so many bad habits that we have that I wouldn't necessarily want my daughter to be exposed to, but it's out of my control though. So I'll definitely try to equip my daughter. I'll definitely try to be as open as I can. But when it comes to age, I'll definitely want her to kind of play within a very safe space so that she does not have to be, I don't want my daughter there, this dude is like, I need a submissive wife. I'm like, what the hell, bruh? Go marry like Omar Kumalo, who's 40 as well. So there's those things. So I'd rather kind of cap it. Like, if she wants to date, let her date like 2, 3, 4 years older than her. Date a fellow student to flip. Go, like, do something. Like, don't be too serious as well. So I try to encourage her to not be too serious, you know, about not too serious in a sense, but date. Play within your age mates, explore with your age mates, get to know life with your age mates. Don't go and bring this dinosaur that's going to be bringing so much that I'm already going to hate, because I already hate him right now. Like, I don't even know who's going to do my daughter. I already hate that dude right now. So yeah, that's my take, man. Like, I'll try to encourage her to play safe, you know?
Yeah, okay, yeah. Men must be afraid of you in this instance, yeah. But respect. I see people raise their hands, so I'm gonna at least, because I hope, can you at least try, when we at least try keep it short for sake of time. But obviously this question relates to the dynamics of, to what degree are you responsible for your child's outlook on life? You know, there's the free agency, like, you know, I do what I do, I'm an adult now, or how much level of freedom can you give your child is most of the topic. But for sake of time, I don't want to go too deep into that. So let's obviously stick to an element of this question. Q, I see you raised your hand. Letu, I see you raised your hand. Elizabeth. So in that sequence, Q.
I totally understand where Sian is coming from, but what happened? Okay, for me personally, I was raised in a family, not specifically my parents, but in a family where the women were married to older men, and it's been a pattern in our family. It was confusing considering that my dad is younger than my mom, but I've realized that I would prefer to date older men, and it did start at a young age, purely because my cousins were married to older men, and not to say they were submissive or anything, but like it for them it worked, and it has been working for me. So I mean, I totally get it from a parent's perspective, where your daughter's coming home with an older guy. It kind of does hit a nerve, but I honestly do believe that family dynamics do have an influence as to how you see relationships, especially at a young age. I mean, I had my first boyfriend at 15 and he was 21, and it was awkward for everyone. But why, when everyone else is doing it in the family? So I think family decisions, or whatever people do around you, kind of does affect the decisions you take. And yes, it does get awkward. I mean, my father almost killed the man, you know, like, she's 15, like, what the fuck? But I totally get it. I totally get where Sian is coming from. It's an uncomfortable situation. He's been around, you know, I'm still in school. He's done with school. But again, it goes back to the fact that it's not something I kind of learned on TV. It's something I learned with people I grew up with. It's something that I saw that, okay, this works, it might work for me. And it has been working for me, even though I've been single for the longest time, but it has worked for me in the past. So, I mean, I feel like family is a great influence in the decisions we make when it comes to, you know, relationships, maybe. So yeah, that's my take personally.
Okay. Letu?
I was gonna agree with Usiana, but also just to add my 2 cents to it is that being an adult is not necessarily like the government's definition of being an adult, which is when you're 18, is not, I don't think it's something that we can like fully subscribe to, because at 18, you're still very stupid. You're still a kid, I believe. And hence, then the parents would come in and actually say, no, you can't do it. But if I, as a 25-year-old, am dating a 40-year-old, for me, I think it's okay. The age gap is still okay because you're more mature now. You know, you can say, okay, maybe, you know, you're mature and you're an adult, okay, for me, I think. Yeah, 18 is not, I think 18 is not, you can't really consider people adults at 18.
Okay. Okay.
Hence the parents would need to intervene, yeah. But when you're much older, I feel it's okay.
Yeah.
Age gap, yeah, it's okay.
Okay, thanks. Elizabeth, see you raised your hand. Then I can probably ask everyone else left, and then we can probably try and wrap it up after that.
Okay. With me, guys, I'm not really comfortable with this thing, right? Because in my take is like, can kids be kids up until to a certain age where they feel like now they can be responsible for themselves, right? Entering into any type of relationship. I mean, for me, I would think when you're 18, you wanna build yourself to the way more biggest possibility that you can be as a human being. You wanna evolve, you wanna go to school, you wanna learn something, you wanna do something of your life, right? I understand there's this concept of getting into relationships and doing this and doing that and doing this. But I just feel like we need to have a different generation that don't make relationship as everything. Like you having a relationship, you having sex is everything. Like why do we need to move into that world where kids need to have sex, kids need to have being in relationships? When are they going to evolve? When are they going to see? Like I just feel there's so much kids can explore in this world, like way beyond having a relationship. We focus too much on sex and relationship way better than we think of ourselves as people. Like I just feel like it's about damn time kids stop thinking about those things and start focusing. I mean, you find a girl, you meet a girl who's like 25. He has already slept with more than 20 guys. What is that? What they still not even know for sure what they want to do with their lives, but they've already slept with 20 guys. I mean, they can even tell you sex position you don't even know yourself. You know, she's only 25. Come on, guys. I think we need to move out of this thing of the kids now can, when they're 18, they can start dating, they can start having sex. When are they gonna evolve themselves? When are they gonna get themselves to basic education, get to understand what career path they can follow? Can they just focus on that first and then focus on relationship when now they're much more older?
Okay, yeah. Elizabeth, what you said, I hear you. I think it's very difficult. It's a very difficult conversation, especially as a young adult. I swear, like, I'm thinking to myself, if I had those views, I would hope, because the children are not dumb. So, and I think because the external factors, media, friends, even though I may want my child one way, I think things like social media, their friends, environment, still plays a role in the way our children turn out to be. And that's part of the question, basically. And to what extent do you have influence on how your child turns out to be? Because, I may say I don't want my child to have sex until they get married. Then, at school, there's the guy, she's young, she's focused at school, she's driven, she wants to be a natural scientist. Then comes this guy, he's matric, she's in grade 11. And yeah, his wordplay. Oof, I know, brother can talk the talk. And next thing she's like, hey, you know what? This thing sounds nice. This talk, this thing about sex sounds interesting. Let me explore. So I don't know. It's a very complicated thing. But basically, my question is therefore, to what extent do you have influence of your outlook or the future outlook of your children? Let me start with Lutula, and then we'll go through everyone else, then we can wrap it up. Lutula?
Yo, Pete, you see, yeah, Elizabeth Matlaba, no. Look, I'm also in the same view. You want them to understand life, and you want them to, I think you do have influence of that, Pete. I think now, as a young adult and now having a daughter already, right? I feel that we need not to be like the previous generation, how we were raised. I feel like a lot of things were being hidden from us, and then we ended up falling into traps that we didn't know about. And I would say ladies were falling a lot in those traps, like you just said now. But I think we need to start having an open conversation with them when we start seeing them that they actually starting to be matured. And then we need to let them know when is the right time. Obviously, their friends, social media, and other stuff would also advise otherwise. However, we as parents and people in the house must always tell them that, look, there are people who are doing it out there. They think it is fine, but it's not actually fine. You can still do it and you can still have fun, or maybe you can still enjoy it at a certain age. You don't actually need to do it now. You're not going to die. I think that's what we need to let them know. And we need to be hard on the repercussions of what might happen and what have happened before and how we've seen it and how they see it today. So that's my view there, Pete.
Okay, thanks, Litula. Mbali, what is your take on this? I also want to add on that I think also in the way that we explain this, I tend to also notice that it seems like it's fixed on the girl child, because I don't know, I sometimes also feel like Africans, hey, we're hard on the woman, hey, don't have sex, but the man, hey, son, you had sex, my son, well done, well done, well done. So I don't know, maybe it's just my view. What is your take on this?
I just, from my side, I think, yeah, we have a lot of effect, right? I've always told my mom that by the time I start having kids, I'll probably like be working from home throughout like most of the early development phases, right? And I just want to raise my kids according to like the terms my mom raised me, like just a culture of openness, you know, and adaptability. Because if there's one thing that I can take from my mom, like it's that. So obviously there's some things that I don't adhere to. I wouldn't want my kid to have sex to begin with, you know, just that idea. I don't have a child, but already like thoughts of my child one day actually having sex. It's just like, yo, but it's gonna happen one day, you know? So I'm just, yeah, on openness, you know, and adaptability. So based on how we move with the times, obviously there are some things that are like a no-go zone, but I just want my kids to always feel that they can speak to me like I'm able to speak to my mom, you know, as much as I know that something is a no-go zone for my mom, but she's always like cultivated that space for us. Like in the sense that when I get home, I can easily be free and say that, yes, I know that this was wrong, but I did this and this and this. And then based on that, she can actually give me better advice. And then later on, I do better. And that's what I'm going to do for my kids. And some things are just beyond your control, you know, external factors are just beyond your control. So what you can do is that if you just open a platform of openness, of course, with discipline, yeah, then everything will be fine, you know. And people make mistakes. Your kids will make mistakes as well. And this whole thing, yeah, the whole sex thing of girls being lashed out on when they have sex and then men being applauded is also nonsense, you know. So I wouldn't applaud either gender, you know, either sex, whatever. I wouldn't applaud that. But I would just like make room of equality in my house, and that's it. I just want a culture of openness and adaptability, and I think my kids will be good after that. So that's pretty much my take.
Thanks, Bali. Sia, I'm not going to mention your relationship status again, so I'm joking on that. But
yeah, thanks, man.
What is your take on this part? You know, I asked you the question about your daughter, and assuming she turns 18 one day, you have a daughter, and she marries someone older. But to what extent, again, from the overall arching aspect, influence do you feel? Because I mean, let's say, for example, you want your child not to have sex or to date old people, but let's say they present to you a scenario like, Dad, I want to have sex. What happens then?
Yeah, look, Peter, just in general, and then I agree with everyone in the platform. Look, we're going to try, I think our parents tried. I think we're also going to continue trying. We'll try to put our best foot forward. And I think it was Umbali who mentioned those core values. I think all the core values that we've gathered from our parents, we're going to try to, pass that, to our kids. And also, I think now that you don't have to, like now, dude, you have to protect your boy child from the boy child next door, and you have to protect your boy child from the girl child. So there's now it's also because we're in a gender fluid generation where now it's like just willy-nilly sexually. So you don't even, it's not even a matter of trying to protect them from having sex. Now you have to even try to protect their identity. Your kid can come back tomorrow and say, I just don't want to be a boy anymore, you know? So I think we've got a lot of work, you know, on our hands as modern parents. So we'll have to, you know, dude, we'll have to try to do, you have to rope in God, you have to rope in money, you have to rope in psychologists, you have to rope in friends, you have to rope in so many resource pools, you know, in raising your kids, as more so in this generation. So I think as a parent, I'll try to rope in as many, call it as many sources that I believe would empower my child to be a good citizen, a good individual, a balanced child. So I'll try to rope in as many resources as I can, just to make sure that they stay safe. This world is it's a dark world, guys. It's a dark world.
Okay. I don't know about dark, but I understand and I hear you, bro. Beko, what is your take on this aspect of raising children and the outlook, and what influence do you have on that?
I believe being a parent, you have a very strong.
Your volume is a bit low. Yeah, just speak up a bit.
How about now?
Yeah, it's fine. It's cool.
Okay, so I was saying that being a parent, you have a very strong influence on the outlook of your child, and I believe that once we do become parents, or for those who are that we need to be really involved in the sense of, as Mbali and Lucia was saying, that know their friends' parents too, just so that you can see that what your child is actually exposed to. Have that open communication where they can come to you and they begin to ask you questions, and they tell you about how they felt mistreated, or how this, and how to, all those things, just so that, if you don't do it, I have a belief that society and what the world has out there will do it for you. And then at the end of the day, it will come back to you and be like, and who's your parents? And then we're like, why didn't you do it? It comes back to you. And so that's my strong take. And as Lizzie was saying, that having a relationship, or having a wife or a girlfriend or a boyfriend or husband shouldn't be like the main focus. Then you just become so fixated on you. But also being able to equip your child to deal with peer pressure, because it is out there, and we know this. Like, I know for a fact that I've got older cousins, older brothers. When we sit in a circle as clickers, guys, we know that we lie to each other, just so that we can be in. But to be able to deal with that in the sense of, in each stage of life, from primary school, going into high school, going to tertiary, just being able to deal. One thing I'm picking up now is being able to deal with peer pressure, and being able to stay true to who you are and what you're trying to do for yourself. I still believe in trying to, making your parents proud. So just, you try to do that. And yes, you're going to be ridiculed, but in terms of what you do, how to deal with that pressure. So you have a strong influence, and you really need to be involved in our children's lives.
Okay. Thanks, Bego. Mobile, what is your take? I see you raised your hand.
Sorry, I have another appointment, so I'll just close this off real quick. I see that everyone's focusing on like the sex factor and friendship influences and stuff like that. I'll go back to what I was saying. For me, it was never friendship stuff. It was always close family. I think we forget that some of us are raised in bigger families, and we see things from a family perspective, not necessarily from friends or anything. And I don't think that a decision that a young girl or a young man takes, influenced or not, should always end up in sex. I think as parents, if you guys ever want to have kids, personally, I do not. I think if you do want to have kids in the future, I think we should learn to kind of teach our kids how to be human, how to have Ubuntu, how to treat people better, how to love themselves. I think we forget to teach our kids how to be mentally okay and prepared for the world, how to be mentally okay with the changes they're going to deal with. Not necessarily sex, not necessarily anything really. I think we kind of missing the point of we need to raise the next generation to actually really love themselves, you know. I heard someone saying that we're in a dark world. I truly agree with that. We are living in a time where there is no remorse for anyone. Everyone is just out to just hurt one another or whatever the case is. And right now, we just need to be better people. If we are going to have kids, we need to kind of raise them to be aware of certain things. Look, we're all human. The decisions you make in life are not based on what your parents have taught you or whatever. Right now we live in a world of social media. So whatever the decision your kid's going to make really is beyond you. It's really beyond you. The only thing that you can do is control them in terms of their mental health, how they treat people, how they treat themselves. I feel like that goes a long way. If someone has a good head on their shoulder, the decisions they make will show. If you kind of don't know how to give them that path and show them which path to walk on and kind of, this is good and this is bad. We can teach kids, that this is good and this is bad. We just don't know which way they're going to go. We cannot control that. But we can control the source, the person, as to how they should be. And then the decisions, again, we don't know what decision they're going to make. We can just only hope that what you've taught them is actually good enough. So besides the sex facts and stuff, sex is going to always happen, guys. To be very honest, this is the truth. There's people who have kids and their kids are having sex at 12. It's not something you want to happen, but it really does happen. And it's not necessarily from an older person. Some people are having kids with their classmates. It's things that happen. You can't control things that happen. It's just life. Life happens. We can't choose. We can only just really try to just advise our kids and raise them better. And yes, from all the mistakes that we've done as humans, we kind of can just let that build into ourselves and just be like, okay, I don't want this for my child, but I cannot control what they decide afterwards. So I don't think we should really put so much pressure on ourselves in terms of trying to control the situation. We really can't. We don't even control where we're going to freaking die. So there's no point of trying to control someone's decision. So we can only just try make or raise our kids to be, really strong-headed people and have really good morals as humans, and indicate that in your home and show that in your home, express love, express peace, express humanity. And I think that goes a long way as a person. That's just my view. It was nice meeting everyone. Unfortunately, I really have to leave right now. I hope you guys have a great Saturday and enjoy your weekend, guys.
Yeah, thank you. I think I appreciate everyone's contribution so far. I know it's not exactly a simple thing of having these kind of conversations on a Saturday, but it's a mix of fun and educational as well. I'm learning from you guys, you're learning from me, and vice versa. The cool thing about this podcast is having people who are not necessarily friends and having these kind of conversations. So at least you see how people think who are outside of your immediate circle. And I think that function plays well into this topic. But I appreciate everyone's input. Personally, the conversation about children and how they outlook, I always say, I actually one day sat down with my father and asked him, did I turn out what you expected me to be? And knowing my father was very blunt. And he was like, honestly, no. But I am proud of the man that you are. But what I expected of you, he had his own vision, what kind of career choice, when I was going to get married, what kind of Christian values or what kind of way I depicted myself. He didn't expect me to be a nigga or, the guy who's whatever the case is. But I always say, and it makes me realize that, to some degree, I'm glad that I've, he raised me, but to some degree, I also acknowledge the fact that he allowed me to become my own man, and whatever that is. And I think even when it relates to women as well, as much as you want to influence your children, you also want them to be their own person in whatever context that means, but also obviously following your principles and your values. But as long as within whatever they define themselves to become, it's something that you can be proud of. Fine, my son doesn't want to become an engineer or a doctor, he wants to be a dancer, ballet dancer. He's a proud gay man. End of the day, as long as he's happy and sanity-wise and mentally, like Mbali says, and also other people say, they're strong. But yeah, I think everyone has different perspectives, and I think it's just about making sure that you do your part. Elizabeth, I see you raised your hand. Was about to close shop, but do you want to say something quickly before we depart?
Yeah, sorry guys. I just wanted to say something because I was listening to Q. So she actually made like a valid point. We know there's too many factors out there that can influence our kids. I don't have any kids yet, but I mean, I've got kids, like my cousins have got kids, right? So, when technology came in, technology was supposed to make life easy for us. But nowadays, we actually suffering the consequences of having technology. I mean, with the influence, so much influence it has on kids, we cannot ignore that factor. That we understand, that we get, So like Q is saying, now the main purpose of being a parent would be to raise kids who've got solid, like she said, having a solid head over your body. This kid would now get to understand these are the factors outside of my home. How can I manage them not to get into me? How can I be solid within this unsolid world? So now, like you saying, this is what now we have to focus on. Now we need to focus on how we can actually trap our kids of not exploring life. We cannot do that. And the thing is, we're not going to be working around with them everywhere they go. But now our main thing, it would be to try and protect them from this outside world as much as we can. We won't be able to take that away fully from them. I mean, technology runs everything in this world. So we cannot take that from them, but try to at least build them to be solid human beings, So that is my take on that.
Thanks, Elizabeth. So I think we can close shop. I want to thank everyone for joining the podcast. Like I said, context, just because I see I also may have not explained in terms of the whole thing about my father not being proud. Even myself, when I asked myself 10 years ago where I expected myself to be, I did not expect to have a podcast on the Saturday. I was hoping I would be having a house and, driving a nice car, but everyone has projections and we don't always fulfill them, but at least you're happy wherever you are. But yeah, I just wanted to add that context. But last of all, thanks again for joining the podcast. Your Saturdays are probably your own time to do other stuff, to go jolly, since we were talking about relationships, but I don't know. But at least I would hope you guys had fun in the podcast, and I hope you guys will be available for any other discussions. But from my part, thank you again, and I will let you know once I'm done editing, because as you know, I don't do live streams anymore. So I make sure at least I edit, fix the volume, picture quality, at least everyone can watch back and see, it was a fruitful and entertaining discussion as well. So yeah, but I'll let you know once I'm done with that. But thanks again and enjoy your rest of your weekend.
Peter,
yeah.
Are you joining today?
Ish. I wish, but the podcast is my job for now. But I'll join after. Maybe I'll join after. I'll let you know.
Cool,
awesome.
cool.
No, thanks, guys. It was awesome. Cheers.
Cheers, man.
Thank you.
Cheers, everyone.
Guys.
Bye.
Sure.